G'day, legends, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight on the Wednesday Pot Noodle, we've got Sean, Johnny, and Shane. How are you, Sean?
Good, yeah. It's cooled down a little bit here. It's only 26 today, so not sweating too much.
There you go. You're having a cold day. It's hotter in Melbourne for once. Abnormal things, might snow in hell tonight too. Anyway, how are you, Johnny?
I'm doing good, Jared. I'm doing good. Just finished watching the new episode of The Last of Us. Thought it was a thoroughly entertaining one. Lots of action, very brutal. I'm loving the show, honestly. It's my new Game of Thrones.
How are you, Shane?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jared. Just enjoying what I call a lovely Melbourne summer's evening. Looking out the window, looking at some blue skies, which are fading into orange, and just chilling out, talking all things Celtic. What could be better?
There's a couple of things better, but not a lot more, to be honest with you. Win the lotto, 50 million, that could possibly be better. But other than that, yeah, I think we're happy days. No, it's good to be on again, have a bit of a chat. We've been a few things that we've got to talk about that have happened over the last week here, so we'll crack on. So we'll go through pretty quickly the review on this podcast of Celtic 5, St Mirren 1 in the Scottish Cup. Before we get into it, we're going to keep it nice and quick because we've got a new show on the channel every Monday, the Weekend Review, hosted by Sean. Anthony and Paul were on with him this week, and they go into the game in deep dive. That's what they'll be doing pretty much every Monday, plus discussing a few other topics. So if you want to get the nuts and bolts of the game and everything, go check out the Weekend Review. It's on our YouTube channel and on our podcast stream as well, so you can find it on pretty much every podcast app. So check it out there. But we'll start off with you, Shane. What was your take on the game against St Mirren?
Well, it was a really interesting game in the end. I thought we started really brightly. We came out of the blocks as per usual, had a couple of early chances. The one that springs to mind is the Maeda shot come cross that cannoned off the post very early on. And then it was sort of around the time Kyogo got injured, which was really innocuous as well. You sort of looked at the footage a couple of times and thought, what's he done there? It just seemed really... as I said, really innocuous. Around that time, St Mirren really started to really not trouble us, but, they started to break up the way we normally play. You could see in midfield in particular with Gogic and the way he was going to McGregor and trying to close him down. And even, I can't remember the defender's name, might be Taylor, and how he was more or less sort of pushing up onto Moy. They really did a good job at... kind of disrupting our usual rhythm. They didn't really sit back and put in the low block. They tried to get up and get at us a little bit. And you know what? I don't think we were poor, but we didn't play with our usual fluidity, if you will, for lack of a better term. Still, it was good that we did get the goal before halftime. It was a great ball, a perfectly weighted ball from Abada to Moy, who then slips in Maeda, who makes a great run across the defender and he scores. But it was... We were doing okay, but they were still doing a really good job at frustrating us, and that continued a little bit beyond halftime into the second half. I think the two big factors that really happened were the subs that came on. So the subs that came on had a really big impact on us pulling away. Each of the subs that came on either scored or put on an assist. That's a remarkable stat to have for all your subs that come on. But also around that time, it seemed like St Mirren ran out of a little bit of gas as well. And all of a sudden, they just didn't seem to have that kind of tempo or ability to break us up as they did before. And we started to motor away and ran out 5-1 winners in the end, which was surprising. Look, there were a couple of good takeaways from it. Scoring, good for him to get off the mark. Love the way he plays, love his first touch, love his agility, but he was physical too when he came on. And O'Reilly actually netting one, which was almost a Tom Rogic-esque finish. Hopefully that something can actually kick him into gear. But like I said at the top, it was an interesting game. It was a challenge for us, a little bit that we haven't had for a little while. And, I thought we pulled through it pretty well.
You stole my thunder there, Shane. I was going to say that I thought like it was one of those games where it's good to see him come out and play and actually not sit back while it's a cup game. So, win or go home sort of thing. So it makes sense that they'd come and do that. And I thought they were doing pretty well. And then, we get the early goal and then, off we go. And then that red card, I don't know, letter of the law, it's a red card. But, I would have thought double jeopardy was enough, a penalty and a yellow. But not going to complain about it. It's good that we got a call in our way. But as you said, like they're playing, they're pressing us. They run out of legs, and then we've got 3 weapons coming on off the bench who's just torn the game apart. So it's where we talk about it being a squad game. But what we'll do is John's looking pretty intense, like either he's about to drop a fart or he's about to
definitely
go a good point.
Possibility.
So Johnny.
Always a possibility. No, look, just when you're talking about the double jeopardy, I was sure that there was a rule against it. I didn't think you could get awarded a penalty and a straight red.
It's for a football act, isn't it? Like if you go and challenge if you tackle a player in the box and you mistime it, but you're legitimately trying to get the ball. I don't think they give a red for that anymore. Where does handball fit into that, Sean?
Handball is still a straight red, just any handball offence. In the sense that if it's a handball, it's either it's either an offence or not, and if it is an offence, then it's a straight red because it denies a clear goal scoring opportunity. So not if it's just like bounced off your hand at the corner kind of thing, but denying a clear.
Can I say something there, Sean? You said a clear goal scoring opportunity. The word there's clear.
Yeah.
There's 2 different handballs there. Nothing was clear in that. They looked at it from 40 different angles and slowed it down and sped it up and all sorts. So to me, it wasn't that clear. But anyway.
Well, it's clearly hit his hand and it's clearly
it was a handball, but was it deliberate or whatever? There's a whole bunch of things.
And it's the whole technology thing that we've got the pound shop version. We don't have any 120 FPS cameras. We've just got, and we said it on the Monday, we'd be better off with a video technician with a PDF of the rules. It'd be faster than having the referees try to operate these videos.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not entirely like it's easy. If it was against us, I'd be upset about it. I think to be all fair, I think it was a bit harsh. I think we can all agree on that. That was quite a harsh penalty, but it went our way, so we can't complain too much. But I think generally, just to echo Shane's comments, I thought we played well for a lot of the game and stuff. More than anything, I thought our midfield played phenomenally, and I think we've got a real dilemma now, which is nice to have, which is who do we put in the middle? I mean, O'Reilly's goal was phenomenal, and then Hatate had to top it, didn't he? So it was just one of those. I mean, where Turnbull fits into any of this, I don't know. I think he's probably right down the pecking order now. And who knows how the new boy Iwata is going to be? And God McCarthy's probably done for good. But I think Turnbull's getting to the point now where he could be, his time at Celtic could be up. But I think we've got a really good problem in the midfield at the moment, which is who do we start? Yeah, Hatate could be hot and cold. O'Reilly, if he continues on that, if he keeps scoring goals like that, he's just a shoo-in, isn't he? And then there's Moy, So I thought overall we played fantastically, and it was definitely good to see O get on the score sheet, first goal and all that, and it was a proper poacher's goal. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the goals. So we had Maeda. Basically, Kyogo goes off hurt. Maeda goes into the central striker role that we've been talking about for ages and makes a good run. Cross comes in, whack, nice goal. Then you've got Hatate with the penalty off the red card. Nice one-touch finish in the box. Good striker's instincts for me, getting into the position to make sure he's there to put that one in. O'Reilly's goal, you just see the relief come off him as soon as that went bulging into the net. It's like, was it 9 months without a goal for him? So, yeah, good on him. He's leading the league in assists, so it's good to see him finally break his duck on the goal. And then Hatate's last goal was just class as well. So, yeah, overall. But then when you look at the bench, like you look at what came on and everything. So I thought it was interesting that when Kyogo got hurt, you could have automatically thought, oh, will come on because it's like for like. and he's brought a Barter on who's been playing well lately to get him some run. That means Jota goes back over to the left to his preferred position, and Maeda goes in the central striker. I actually really liked the way Ange did that because it was rewarding guys and also not throwing Owen to the Wolves, basically let him build himself up. So I really liked that sub. I thought it was clever. And then you got Haksabanovic come on later. O came on, O'Reilly and Hatade. So the guys on the bench, this is the scary thing. Who didn't come on? Kobayashi, Awada, and Forrest. They'd be starting in any other team in the league.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, 100%. That's more the standard of the other teams, I would say. But yeah.
Yeah,
It
we
would be
could put out a second 11 that would be challenging for second place, I reckon.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty funny, yeah. So, yeah, if anyone's got anything else they want to add about the game, jump on now. Otherwise, we'll leave it there and I'll segue using that, talking about O and the injury into our next topic.
Just on Abada, he has played the most games, along with Matt O'Reilly, has played the most games for us of any player this season. And I know a lot of them have been as subs, but he's played in every single league game, and he's played 35 games in total, which is tied for most with Matt O'Reilly.
He's an absolute weapon. Love Abada's game. I wish we could play more, but we've got that much squad depth that, it makes you wonder, like, how's he going to break into the squad with what we've got there?
Yeah, he's played more games than Joe Hart somehow. Like,
cup games.
Don't know how that makes sense, but yeah, I guess.
Well, obviously, Joe must have missed a couple with the cup, of course.
Yeah, with Seagrass coming in.
Seagrass was in, yeah. So what we'll do is I
was going to jump in. Sorry, Jared, just very quickly, just something that really didn't dawn on me until I was sort of doing a little bit of review late today was, there's been a bit of, I don't know if you call criticism, but discussion lately about how we haven't really, I guess, kind of put the foot on the throat to teams where we've been maybe 2 or 3 up and haven't, scored more by the end of the match. So to actually, score 4 second half goals, a couple that were really late on as well, I think was really pleasing and might maybe put a few people who were venting that opinion, maybe they might back away from that now.
Yeah, it's especially in a cup game. You don't need to chase it. So it was just desire for entertainment's purpose, I guess.
Yep. Looked really, really hungry, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
So it's talking about Maeda going into the striker's role with Kyogo getting hurt, and that ties into the next topic that I wanted to discuss with you boys is O ready to step up and be our starting striker, or will we see Maeda playing as a starting striker until Kyogo is back from injury? What do you think the dynamic's going to be? Are we going to see more Abada playing with Jota back on the left, Maeda in the middle, more chances for Haksabanovic to come in, or are we going to see O get his chance to step up? What do you think, John?
Can't hear you, John.
You're on mute, John.
Oh no, that's the camera, John.
Surely he can hear me now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You should operate VAR. You're good at this.
That's what the buttons were. Yeah, that was penalty to Rangers. Yeah, no. So I can't remember if it was a direct Ange interview or it was some speculation on forums I was reading as well. But supposedly, the physiotherapists or the sports scientists have been telling the Celtic coaching staff that O needs to be dripped in. So as in, like, he's just not going to start immediately now that Kyogo's injured. So what I imagine is probably going to happen is it's going to be Maeda up front. And I think we're probably going to have, a rotation of Haksabanovic, Abada, Jota, all going around the wings and stuff, and Forrest in there as well. So I think from what I saw, that was a Giakoumakis type goal, right? He was very strong. He very good poacher goal, all of that stuff. I think we're going to see his time increase slowly rather than him just being thrown in for a 90-minute game. Just don't think we're going to see that.
Yeah, you're talking about being a Giakoumakis goal there, John, and yeah, you're right. But the thing I do like about his game a bit more than what I saw with Giakoumakis is his first touch is a lot softer. It's not like he's playing in concrete boots. Like Giakoumakis, sometimes his first touch was absolute murder at his feet and go 5 meters away from him. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's a good point.
So it's good in the way that like he's got soft feet, he receives the ball well. So that can only be a good thing for us as we step forward.
For sure.
I will say when Kyogo injured his shoulder earlier in the season against Sevco, he was back playing like 3 or 4 days later against Real Madrid. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting again this weekend.
Yeah.
I just was reading the article just before we came on, Sean, and they were saying that he's probably going to be rested this weekend, but he should be right for the cup final.
It's a good thing. Want him firing for that.
Certainly is.
Yeah, I think I remember. I might be wrong, but there was no major damage that he did. Am I correct, or did he actually injure himself pretty severely?
Well, I think they were saying it was somewhat precautionary to take him off. There wasn't nothing like they're not talking of any operations like Greg Taylor had. Yeah, how long was he out for? When he did his shoulder, it was months, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, I think, just let's say Kyogo isn't up to starting. I'm denied about this question all day because I've liked what I've seen from O. And I think, Jared, you touched on it just then about his first touch. It's great, particularly in comparison to Giakoumakis. But I sort of had this in mind of who leads the line in the league, the cup final. And I just can't see O leading the line if he hasn't had a start, and he hasn't had a start yet. And unless he gets a start, I just can't see him actually leading the line in the cup final. I would see that given to Maeda. If he gets a start this coming week, maybe, but I'm more inclined to lean towards Maeda. Sorry, apologies. And I know there's a little bit of discussion about Maeda leading the line, playing as that number 9, and maybe he hasn't been as effective in that position in the past as he has been for Japan. I think probably the one thing to take into account is when Maeda's played in that number 9 role for us before now, it really was at a time where he wasn't in this rich vein of form. He was, under pressure. He was a little bit maligned. There was a lot happening there. Since he's come back from the World Cup, he's been our best player. And I'd love to see if that form and that confidence that he now possesses can actually translate into him playing in that number 9 role for us. And I thought he actually made a really good fist of it against St Mirren when he had to move there. I thought he was really good. If I'm honest with you, and I'm probably in the minority, I actually probably had him as man of the match slightly ahead of Carter Vickers. I thought he was excellent when he shifted into that 9 role. And I'd be curious to see now with that more confidence behind him whether he can do better in that role.
Just on that, Shane, like you made a good point, and I can see Sean's got something he wants to chime in on. So I'm just going to roll off the back of what you're saying before we go to Sean here. But looking at it going, you're making good sense that he's in form. But the other thing that he's had go against him when he's been playing as a striker for us is he's had Giakoumakis there, or he's had Kyogo there. So he hasn't really had the run of the position, if that makes sense. Like if someone's injured and it's all the pressure is on your shoulders and it's your job, go out there and do it week in, week out, then that automatically you think would make him relax a bit more and just go about his job and go about his business. Like when he plays for Japan, he knows I'm going to be the center forward. I'm going to play at least 60 minutes. So by doing that, then that's just gives him peace of mind in that role that he's not looking over his shoulder going, when's Kyogo coming on? When's Giakoumakis coming on? We know that O's only really able to play maybe 20, 30 minutes at the moment. So that gives him that peace of mind. He's got an hour there at least to go and do his job. So I hope that we just see him grab by the scruff of the neck and get on with it. What are your thoughts, Sean?
It was just on the man of the match thing. I did find it a bit curious that in a game where we've not kept a clean sheet and we've scored 5 goals, that the centre-back gets man of the match. And,
yeah, it's weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was good in that block at 1-0. I don't think Joe Hart was saving that. I think that was goal bound. So he's done a great job on that particular one. That's kind of almost worth a goal. But yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about Maeda. I almost felt that Rio Hatate could have been man of the match for his half hour. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was absolutely sensational when he came on. He was like, well, if you're going to drop me, I'm just going to show you why you shouldn't do that again. And he absolutely ripped St Mirren apart when he came on. I get that they were about to lose a man and they were getting tired from the hard press and all that sort of thing, but that goal that he scored was just unbelievable quality and his
Very
overall
special.
play. Yeah.
You can only play what's in front of you. So at the end of the day, like, Turnbull played what was in front of him, and he played worse than Hatate when he come on. But talking about the man of the match thing, did you guys see it? It was all over social media. Hatate, he spoke English in the presser afterwards.
Yeah.
And
I
I was
heard,
like, apparently people, like, you look at Twitter and it was just like, oh, look, his English skills are improving. I'm like, he said 2 sentences. It's still good to see him doing that and, getting into the swing of things. But I was like, it's a bit of an overreaction. It's still good to see.
Yeah. I imagine his English was probably half decent before he arrived. I can't say
He doesn't understand Glaswegian, does he?
Yeah. Listen, my mates growing up didn't understand my family either. So, yeah, it's a universal thing.
All right. So I think we're all of the mindset then off the back of that Maeda as the striker, Owen just got to keep building up his fitness until he can get him to that level. Kyogo will probably be back for the cup final, so I think we're okay. Now I'm going to bring up a couple of comments here. So John Dean, what I like about O is he seems strong and gets around the front of his defender and holds him back with his butt, maintaining ball control. He seems very physical. There's a lot to like about that. It's good to see, especially for such a young player to know how to use his body like that as well. Is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so.
And then Michael Ross, hail, my fellow Celts. And Hatate looks tremendous. Yep, well, I feel great with you, mate. So, if you're tuning in, you got any comments or any questions you want, just chuck them in the comment section here and we'll get to them as the podcast progresses. Before we crack on to our next topic, just if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Celtic Down Under podcast on your podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live. There's shows on a Monday, there's shows on a Wednesday, and the channel will continue to grow over the next couple of weeks, more content. So, just make sure you hit that so you get notified when we go live. So, interim report came out. Celtic have announced a £33.9 million profit for the first half of this season. To me, I know it's interim, so you don't get too excited about it, but I think the massive thing right there is the money Ange spent over the summer was basically Carter Vickers and Jota was paid for with the money we'd banked the season before. And then we didn't spend a lot in the summer at all. Did we have a net or did we spend just a little bit? It wasn't a lot.
I think it was like 2 million.
It was only a couple of million, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then, so you look at that and then you put Champions League money on top of it. And that just shows the difference of being at that top table and playing in the Champions League, what that does for you as a club. So it shows just how vitally important it is. Anyone got anything they want to point out about the interim report? Anything they saw while reading about it? Shane's shaking his head because he doesn't like the financial stuff. We all know that. So, Johnny or Sean?
Yeah, what was it said? We had 50 million in the bank, something like that.
I think they'll get it built.
And I think this year is our final year for the loans that we took out under Martin just before Martin O'Neill. They wanted to the co-op. I think they're due for final payment this year. And apparently, wasn't able to forensically dissect it myself, but apparently we had a £10 million payment from insurance for business interruption due to COVID. And again, didn't check it myself, just going secondary information here, but I'd heard that a different Glasgow team got a £1 million equivalent in their insurance payout.
That's because there was only 3 clubs, they said at the time, Sean, that had that top quality insurance during the thing in Scotland. It was us. It was, I'm trying to remember who the other 2 were. I think it was Aberdeen and Hearts, I think.
I don't remember.
I think it was those 3.
I do remember that chat though. There was like, well, most teams are going to get hammered here. And I think that's part of why the government stepped in. Probably why also we didn't take the government money for the COVID thing, which again, everyone was kind of interested about it at the time. Like, we were the only team that didn't take it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wait,
certain
because
team over in Govan took our share.
Do you think it would have been like we wouldn't have qualified for the private insurance payout if we did?
Possibly, or it might have just been a straight deduction from it. As in,
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It makes more sense to do it this way. So there you go. But yeah, it's shows the difference of a player trading model at the club in terms of all the spending Andrew's done, getting players in, getting a lot younger in the squad, and getting sellable assets while also improving the standard of the performance on the pitch. Andrew Galera in the comments is, it's no wonder the board love Ange. Spot on with doing that. So the player trading model, with that coming in, having the money in the bank, with Peter Lawwell being back at the club, are we going to be looking at the hotel and the museum at the front again? Are we going to buy what's out the front? What stadium's that out the front again? That we've got
The Emirates.
yeah,
or
the
the
Emirates.
Chris
Are we gonna-
Velodrome. Something
Yeah,
like that.
so apparently we've got management rights with the staff and stuff there, from what I've heard. So are we going to take ownership of that as another asset for the club? There's a whole range of things you can do with that money, but money sitting in the bank account, as was discussed during the pandemic and everything, is basically dead money in football. You need to be investing it. You'd rather have a loan and be paying off that with a little bit of interest on it, or have some sort of thing like, if we get the hotel going, then, or we update, what's it, Barrowfield, and put in a new stadium there for the B team and the women to play out of. Those are assets that are going to put money back into the club. So it makes sense to do that. So yeah, it's a good spot to be in. I'd rather be where we are than, having to do another share issue and write off debt for more shares like what happened across the town last week. So
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 30 million was what was quoted to upgrade. So all that stuff, the hotel, the new ticket office, merchandise, and all that stuff.
Don't
yeah, I
recall.
think it was like 50 or 60, and then they talking about putting Barrowfield into that as well. And if they were going to do all of them in one go in one big loan, it was like 65 million all up or something like that. So
that's a big chunk of money for us, especially.
But what will it come back to us? If you got a hotel, if I was to go over to Glasgow for a game, where would I want to stay? I know I'd stay there.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of fans traveling from Ireland that stay there as well. To be honest,
Ireland,
that coming just for
Japan, from Australia, the
Yeah.
works. Yeah, if you don't have family over there, like I don't have family that lives in the area, so I need to stay in a hotel anyway. Why not stay it there? Put some money back into the club and be within walking distance to the game.
Yeah.
Be able to go to, go down the new superstore, go through a museum, all that sort of stuff. Why not?
For
I
sure.
think the nearest hotel to the stadium's, I can't remember the name of it, the Belgrove or something. It's the one that's literally just full of homeless drug
Yeah, I
addicts.
was going to say, yeah,
Is that what
that is, it's a Belgrove, and that's not one.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's not the nearest one to the stadium, as
Yeah.
far as I know, unless they've got new ones in there. So we probably could be doing something. Might as well pay for an extension on the Glasgow Underground while we're at it.
Yeah.
I think another thing that, again, I didn't check it myself, but something I'd heard from the report was that we had 17 million in merchandise for 6 months, which now I know that's, you get 3 strips released within that time. So it's not going to be you can't project that out to 34 million. It won't be as much in the second half. But even so, 17 million for 6 months is sensational when, again, other Glasgow clubs, not Partick Thistle, got 5.5 million for a full year of merchandise.
So how much of that came from Sydney? That's the real question. How much that was paid in Australian dollars?
Yeah. How much was the financial fine to the blue team that got kicked over to us as compensation? Imagine if that came out in the accounts. Payment by Sevco for not showing up to Ange's party.
Yeah, so there's heaps of options there for the club. Liam in the comments is prefer players to dividends to top shareholders. I get it,
For sure.
100% agree with you. But as I said, with what we've done so far, we've got assets. If you look at the average age of our squad, how many years they've got left on their contracts, we got the players in, and there's still an asset which will in turn pay the top shareholders their dividends. So it's a win-win for everyone across the board. So there you go.
You have to speculate to accumulate, If
And
Ferguson
Andrew-
Can had spent the money on players, and we wouldn't have the stadium, and
It's very true.
And then Andrew Galea in the comments, there wasn't enough merchandise on the Sydney trip. You had to be quick. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, everything was gone.
Absolutely. Hey, John, you got the hat that I was eyeballing. I couldn't find anywhere. Jealous. You went out, come back, like cooking, and you got a hat on. I'm like, bastard, there's that hat that I want.
Listen, I'm very I was certainly cooking. I was getting very tomato colored, so I needed something to put my head. Sydney sun, eh?
Yep. All right. I'm gonna give a what I'll do quickly is we're gonna next topic is what defines a successful season this year. Is it defined by winning just the league and qualifying for the Champions League? Is it 2 trophies, or is it the treble? So while you guys start talking about that, I'll throw to you, Shane. I'm going to bring up a comment here from Liam as well. Tassie Celtic supporters flags. Yes, I've got one. It was sent to me. It's behind the flag here. I'm going to go grab it and, chuck it up behind me. So I'll let you guys talk and I'll be back in 30 seconds.
So for me, and I've mulled over this a little bit over the past couple of days, I think for me, a successful season is winning the league. I think you have to look at that as being successful. I'm not saying that if we finish the season with just the league and we don't win another trophy, that we couldn't have done better. By all means, we should be striving to be better. But I think if you're going and just literally going, well, what do we see as a successful season? I think winning the league and getting back into Europe, you have to tick off as a success. I think it's a little bit too harsh to deem it anything less. So I would say winning the league is a success, but we are obviously in a great position to do better than that. So what do you guys think?
it's funny. It's been kind of skewed by Brendan Rodgers and what happened in that kind of spell where he came over and just kind of dominated things. Because before Brendan Rodgers, we had what was it? Something like 3 trebles across 120, 130 years or whatever it was. So like it was such a rare thing. Jockstein did 2, Martin O'Neill did 1, and then that was it. So we were never at that in those days. A treble was like this unbelievable achievement. I still remember when we won that second treble when we beat Motherwell in the cup final, and I just remember like talking to my dad like, "Oh, this is unbelievable! Back-to-back trebles. This never happens. It will never happen again." And then it happened another 2 times immediately after, and it's like, and it almost became inured to winning trebles. Like, oh, only 2 trophies this year. That's crap. Do you know what I mean? And like. Other pundits in Scottish BBC Sports Sound, they're talking about if Michael Beale wins a double of the cups, he'll be a great success and all this thing. And we won a double last year, and people barely even count it as like a measured success, because I guess if one had been the Scottish Cup, it might have been different. But yeah, it's hard to measure nowadays.
That's that, Sean. He'll just be. If he does that, Sean, he'll just be, a Callum Davison level.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get the name right? St Johnson manager.
Yep, exactly. He won the double. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We almost have to measure ourselves really a lot by European success, and this year we weren't very successful in Europe. So that's why I think there's more pressure on to do a treble or at least a double this year, because we haven't quite achieved as much in Europe. I think that puts the pressure on.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with the Europe is our measuring stick. To be honest, I think that's where we know where we are in the grand scheme of things, because it can be very much an echo chamber. Sorry, just your own league, but Scottish football especially. This might be controversial. I hope it's not, but I think that maybe winning 2 cups is maybe just slightly less, but almost equal to winning the league, especially now that we've got first team and second team potentially both going in the Champions League. I think if we just put, put ourselves in the other person's shoes sort of thing, if we had won both cups and we were in the Champions League, would be like, but we lost the league, we would still say we had a successful season. Might not be the most desirable, but we would still say we had a successful season. So
Fair.
yeah, and I think if you said, well, you only won the League Cup or you only won the Scottish Cup, and then it's kind of like, you won the league and you're also in Europe. So I think maybe winning the 2 cups together is the same as winning the league. And I think the only qualification there is literally the qualification to Europe. It's only kind of predicated if you both go to the Champions League.
Yeah, well, for me, we did the league and a cup last year, so I want to get that as an absolute minimum with progress in Europe is what we had now. The progress in Europe is this year we're in the Champions League, which was an improvement on last year being in what we were the Europa League. So, yes, that's progress because we won the league last year, but we didn't do very well in Europe. So now it's a matter of getting that squad and getting the experience and pushing on next season into Champions League again, winning the league, getting straight into the Champions League and going again and improving. That's what it is for me on that front. But if we could do the treble, I'd be ecstatic with that. So it's got a couple of comments here. So Liam was, do we have auto group qualification next year? Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not the year after, but definitely this year.
But then the year after that, they're changing it and making Champions League bigger, which will put it back on again. So there's a 1-year window there. We've got auto qualification again for next year. So it's that 2023-24 season. The 24-25 season, that's iffy. The year after that, Champions League expands and it should be automatic back in again. So that's where it's at the moment. And then Andrew Galea, winning the league is everything, takes us into Europe. 100% I'd agree on that as well. So winning the league is the priority. But yeah, if we can get a treble and qualify for the Champions League, off we go.
I guess I want to throw the question back if I can for just a second. I hope you don't mind, Jared. If we go on and win the league, I'll throw it to everyone. If we go on and win the league, but we don't pick up another trophy, are we going to say that that's not a successful season?
Nah, that's a success. I'd say if you win the league and you don't get any cups, you're still a success.
Andrew Galea answers it. The cups are nice. League is everything. So for me, I want to win. As I said, we did a League Cup double last year. I want to do the same as an absolute minimum. But I'd prefer the treble if we can. But as you guys were saying early on, like we'd only had Brendan Rodgers was the 3rd manager in our history, I think, to do a treble.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty rare until a decade ago. So
yeah. Yep, that says a lot.
I won't be upset if we don't win the treble, but winning the league and 1 cup is what I want.
Yeah, and doing well in Europe can cover up for all that because we all consider 2003 to be one of our biggest, most successful seasons, and we won literally nothing.
Yeah. It certainly can.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we touched on it a bit earlier in the podcast. I was kind of hoping Liam would be on today with our man in Japan, but he's a bit crook, so rest up, mate. Hope you're feeling better. Celtic has been announced to be touring Japan at the end of the season, playing friendlies against Bayern Munich, Man City, and PSG. Name of the episode: Big Club Things. That's why we're in there. Big club, going over there. Us and Bayern Munich are the only 2 clubs out of those whole 4 that have won the European Cup. So there you go. We're the 2nd biggest club in based on history. That'll be good to get the boys back out this side of the world again. And I'm hoping it's like come to Australia this year, Japan middle of the year, next year after that, get them over to the States. Just do 1 overseas tour every year. Be a good revenue stream for the club. Good, but above all else, it'll be good for the fans. Like I felt a lot more connected to Celtic again, having seen them live in the flesh over here again. And there's such a massive support over in North America through, Canada and the US, and so many CSCs over there. Like the Plough Boys CSC in Philly, they had their 10-year anniversary. I think it was a 10-year or something on the weekend. So, like to see that, and people from Detroit supporters clubs gone down that I know, people from Austin, Texas went across for it. If they're going across just for CSC stuff, imagine if Celtics in town. Get to Japan, get to the States, get over here again, and just keep doing it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Might have to see how the funds line up and everything to potentially get to Japan. I doubt it will happen but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a bit short notice if it does happen from making that sort of financial commitment.
That's the only concern for me. If they gave us, a year, 6 months to not 6 months, like 9 months.
We had about
to a
9
year,
months for Sydney, right?
9 months for Sydney. Yeah, if they gave us that much time, I'd be like, done. Book the flights nice and early. Passports sorted, ready to go. But it's just a matter of what are the dates, what cities, so you can book everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask Liam, does he have a spare spot on his couch?
Bit of a train journey. Yeah.
He's nowhere near Tokyo.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because the train station's next door.
That's true. Yeah. Flag it from his house.
Yep.
It was always on the cards though, wasn't it? I think we all called it multiple times. So we're always going to go to Japan. The amount of players we got from there.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see. It's obviously with all the Japanese players we've brought on board. So obviously there's a growing interest in Celtic there. There was already an interest. It's obviously getting larger, and it's a great reward for existing Celtic fans there. It's also a great opportunity to really I guess make more inroads in what is an exciting market going forward for world football. And to top it all off, we're in great company with some other really good teams. So it's really pleasing.
There's also an aspect of SH stirring about it. Opening some wins with Sevco fans of a certain vintage who will remember when we refused to extend the season for them because we had a trip planned to Japan that never happened. Back in
well, it's happening, yeah.
We're doing it now. We didn't see when. We told you so.
Yeah, see?
That's brilliant. Yeah. So Andrew Glee has also got a comment. I'd like to see us play in a J League side.
Oh, Yokohama, surely.
I'm thinking if they're in the area as well, have a look at Korea, because let's have a look how many players we've had come from South Korea to play for us. How many Japanese guys we've got? They've co-hosted a World Cup together. Those two countries. There's a little friendly rivalry there, sort of thing, in much the same way as Australia and New Zealand. We are to each other. It's like a brothers punching on in the backyard all the time. And it'll be interesting to see. But when Japan's got 120 million people there or something like that, and we've got 6 Japanese players under contract, plus the manager used to won the league in Japan and all this sort of stuff, there's a lot of things tying us into it. So we'll be very interesting to see how it all works out. But I think it'll be a great little opportunity for Celtic to get over there, grow the brand, and especially against those sort of clubs as well. Imagine it'd be worth the 9-10 hour flight from Melbourne for me up to Tokyo, at least, if you're going to get to see 4 or 3 games against that quality opposition. Well, it'll be worth it.
Just a quick point there, Jared. You can answer a question I have is on these kind of tours, the typically done thing is to play, and going back for a few years now, is to play one local team and one other traveling team. You see that whenever the English clubs come over. So assuming we're going to play one of the 3 only, who do you want?
What a question.
Everything I've read said we'd be playing a tournament where all 4 of us were playing each other.
Is that right?
That's what I read, but that could be someone just talking out their ass. So if we can only pick one, right? Bayern Munich for me.
Yeah.
I don't want us playing PSG and kicking Neymar around, except Ralston kicking him in the shins and everything would be worth it. But I'd rather play Bayern.
The Ralston return. Here we go.
Do you know, honestly, for me, it's anyone but City. I just don't want the English press going about an overseas battle of the Britain, all that nonsense. So anyone. Yeah.
I was just going to jump in really quickly to make a point on Liam's behalf. It'll be a great opportunity for Celtic when they go over there to hopefully start looking at making the Celtic shirts available in Japan instead of Liam having to order them from the Celtic shop and get them sent overseas.
The Celtic shop, yeah. the Chinese shop.
Sorry, the Celtic shop. Yeah. We're covered, don't worry. It'll be a great opportunity. Hopefully they can get that sorted.
The fact that in front of it is different. Just us mob over in Ibrox.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very true.
All right, so we said last week we'd quickly touch on this. So you got the Man City situation with all the charges against them for financial mismanagement and that sort of stuff, right? And how does that compare to the EBTs in Scotland? So I think there's the tie-in on that I just want to use quickly, and it works because we're just talking about Man City and Japan and that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm using as my tie-in here. But looking at it, the only thing that's comparable is that there's a few things: financial mismanagement and winning titles that they shouldn't have won. And then people talking about title stripping. They're the three things for me that stick out. Anyone who's doing financial mismanagement should be punished. End of. That's it, my opinion. Anyone who's, winning titles that they shouldn't have, then I think it's a bit hard now to go back to and the title stripping thing where people are saying take the titles off them. Yes, take them off. But if you were that player, like if you were Steven Gerrard and you slipped over and absolutely ruined it and missed out on the only EPL title of your career that you would have won, and now you would have suddenly 8, 9, 10 years later being like, here you go, here's your title. Would you want it? I don't know. The competitor some players would be like, yeah, okay, I'll take it because I should have earned it. I knew something was wrong. But for me, the competitor in me, if I was playing sports and I was in that situation, would be like, nah, because I didn't earn it at the time. I didn't beat them on the pitch even though they were cheating. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. But what's your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, as you say, it's a difficult one. I think there's a difference between title stripping and title conferring. I think those are two completely different things, and I think your sentiment I agree with in terms of conferring titles. But I still think there's a place to be invalidating the record books and taking away things that were not earned on sporting merit, but were earned on financial doping and things like that. With regards to the whole Man City shenanigans that's going on, I think this is all just coming out now because of the government about to put their foot down on top of the EPL. And my kind of feeling is it's the snake starting to eat itself, whereas for the last 20 years or so, I've just been waiting for this bubble to burst and for them all to go down in flames, and I'm just disappointed every year it doesn't happen. And if this is the catalyst for that, I will get some jelly and ice cream and enjoy the show.
Absolutely.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I feel very similar, to be honest. I like the English league. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about it, and the bubble burst would be, I think, just be good for football in general. But I thought it was funny. Some of the people were saying that it was Arteta that dobbed them in just so that Arsenal can win the league. But I think there's a real difference, right, between lying and deceiving or being deliberately dishonest. So I think what City have done is embellish and not be very and sort of white lie sort of stuff. And look how serious the media and stuff are treating that. I think that, and I think you look at what the old code did and with the EBT stuff, and it screams that what they got was just and fair. Like that's exactly what they should have had, all those treatments against them. So yeah, I think it's really just highlights again that those years were corrupt to the very core. And if this is how we're talking about City, then even more so.
So I'll bring up a couple of comments before we go to you, Shane, to finish this topic. So Liam, as Man City had money, Rangers was tax fraud. Fair point.
Well, yeah. And
then Michael Ross, breaking rules is cheating, so titles must be removed. Yeah. Take the titles off them, but I don't think you should be conferring them on. In the NRL over here years ago, we had Melbourne Storm got done for running 2 sets of books, and I'm a Storm fan, and I don't agree with what the administrators at the club did. So yeah, what they did was they didn't take the titles off the Storm and give them to the teams they beat. They took them off and then put an asterisk in the book saying title strip for salary cap breaches. So that's probably what you'd see there. They'd be take the titles off, put an asterisk on it, but you don't be giving it to Liverpool, don't be giving it to others.
I don't think City are getting title stripped, if I'm being very honest. I just don't see it.
Too much more.
biggest financial monster in English football, and you think they're going to get any sort of real? Nah, I don't think so.
I don't remember the baseball player's name. Was it something Maguire? And there was like some baseball,
Yeah.
and
Mark
they put a
Maguire.
baseball into the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame museum. And then it came out later he was doping, so they literally like cut an asterisk into the baseball that was in the museum. Like they literally
That's
did
brilliant.
that.
Yeah.
The invalidating of titles is an interesting point. You actually stole my thunder, Jared. So you've got me a good one there. I was going to bring up the Storm situation, and I remember you were a Storm fan, so I was going to tread extremely carefully when I brought it up as well. But I'm
Kick him
glad
from
you
the
did.
studio, everyone. Kick him out.
It's just an interesting situation about the whole, and I agree with Johnny that it's unlikely they'll have any title strip, but if they did, would they confer them on? And it was a great discussion point about, if you didn't win the title initially, but then it got conferred onto you, how would you feel? We actually had a similar situation in the AFL, and I'm going to tread extremely carefully again. Jared probably knows where I'm going with this. With a certain Brownlow medalist, he's looking for the kick button. I can see it. With a certain Brownlow medalist who unfortunately lost his Brownlow medal because of a particular situation in the club, and was conferred on to those who finished second place. And it's probably the first time I've come across a situation where it's been kind of conferred on like that, and it was really unusual. And I guess I'm going to throw this open to the learned team here. In terms of world football, in similar situations before, have we seen titles conferred onto second place?
Once that I'm aware of, in Italy after the Calciopoli scandal, there was 2 titles stripped from, again, maybe misremembering, but I believe there was 2 titles stripped from Juventus, and one was conferred on to Inter Milan, and the other one was voided, if I remember correctly.
How did they make the decision to confer one on and then void the other? Like, what was the basis around that? I don't remember.
It was to do with the levels of interference in those particular years, I think, and also because of the number of teams involved in the second year. So I think it was more than just Juventus involved at the second shot, which is why they kind of just went, let's just scrap that year.
There you go,
Yeah.
Confirmed for Sean.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation, but I think probably if I can speak really generally on this, I think everyone's sort of waiting to see what happens, because I guess at the back of everyone's mind, despite the severity of the situation, there is the potential, and it's been seen in the past, for people to kind of get hit with the wet lettuce instead of a significant punishment. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Bloody wet lettuce. There you go. What a weird one. All right. So, next topic we've got here is Celtic and Sevco have apparently been sounded out about joining the new European Super League. Apparently, they're inviting 80 teams, 14 games, and there's going to be a couple of leagues, and you get promotion, relegation, and all that sort of stuff. Do we take these rumors and stupid stories like this seriously, or do we just roll on with it? What's your take, John?
Yeah, I think we do take them seriously, to be honest. I think the somewhat recent events kind of prove that to be. I think certain people are talking about it dead seriously. Would I be happy if Celtic was in it? Yeah, probably. I think that's the bottom line is, it would put us on a much bigger stage. We'd get much bigger finances coming through. We'd be able to get better, upgrade in the caliber of players that we would attract and all that stuff. And especially, I think the crucial part is the relegation and stuff. I think that's what keeps it fresh. And I think if it's just a closed off league, it might as well be an American sport, and I just can't be asked for that stuff. So, I'd be up for it. But I think really crucially, we would need to make sure that our identity as a fan base and as a club is protected. I don't want to see any touristy shite. I want preference to season ticket holders and all that stuff. I don't want to block off stands and stuff. So, I would be keen for it. I think we do take it seriously.
I've got a solution then, John, before we go to the other boys here. But for me, I'm looking at it going, is it going to be a proper league and it's going to be more than 14 games? Is it going to grow out to actually being like a 30-something game season? If it is going to eventually evolve to that, then it makes sense for us to go into that, play our normal league, but then still stay in Scotland and put our B team to take our normal spot. So we've still got players in Scotland playing, and we've got this. So it's better standard for our B team. We're still playing there twice as much Celtic football. I'd be happy with that, right? But if it's going to be just 14 games and it's just like a Champions League sort of run and that's it, then I don't know, to be honest with you, because I'm a bit of a traditionalist and I love the fact that that star on our chest means something to me. And if we go into this European League, we're not going to be able to play in the comp that we got that star from. So that, to me, that means a lot to me as a fan. So that's where I'm a bit iffy on it. But I'd love to say your thoughts, Sean.
Yeah, they've been a little bit vague on the details, so it's kind of hard to judge it. But it does kind of sound like they're talking about not necessarily whether they're thinking of regionalization or not, but they are talking about it being not just one big league, like which they had previously proposed, but with smaller, which I think might be the way forward, because, you know, obviously we've talked about having these North Atlantic leagues, and Portugal and Spain have talked about having their Iberian League, and Germany and the Netherlands have countries have talked about merging before to try and fight this monster of the English League, which is where this is all coming from, really. But you know, my counterpoint to that against myself is that even though they're calling it sport and merit, I don't see it actually being sport and merit, at least not at the start anyway, because they're hardly going to go and turn around and invite the best teams in each country. Like, if it started tomorrow, does Union Berlin and Brighton and Hove Albion get an invite for being in the top 6? Do you know what I mean? Like, no. Do you know what I mean? Like, Chelsea, who are whatever 10th in the league, they're going to get an invite, even though so
Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. So don't give me sport and merit. Like, just be upfront about it, right? You know, like I get what they're saying. Like, afterwards, then it'll be sport and merit, and that's fine. I do think there is a position, and maybe even a need for the overall structure of European football to evolve to combat this financial, but I don't even know the words, the
behemoth,
elephant man in the room.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, something like that. This ugly sister that we've got down in England that is just ruining football. Yeah, honestly, I can't even watch English football anymore. I can't watch it. I can't stomach it. I was working in bar the other month, and people were coming in to watch Man United and Man City. I was like, nah, mate, I'm putting the Perth Glory game on. They're like, can you change channel? I was like, no, watching Perth Glory. And there's like 2 fans. I'm like, don't care. No, I've got the remote. What are you gonna do? Go drink somewhere else. I'm watching the Perth Glory game. Like, I cannot stomach the English football, honestly.
So we've got a couple of comments here. So Mahesh, welcome with your comments. Yeah, so UK government would use corporate tax law to block EPL and, for that matter, SPFL participation in Super League. All kinds of licensing arrangements would be revoked.
Not if it's supported by UEFA, I would expect. So at the moment, I understand there's meetings arranged or to be arranged between UEFA and the European Super League.
And then Andrew Galea was, imagine every league in Europe losing their 2 strongest clubs. It would destroy domestic football all over Europe. Well, that kind of ties into what you were just saying there, Sean, about there needs to be some sort of rejig on football going forward. So, Shane, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I think you boys have pretty much hit the nail on the head of how I was feeling. It was interesting to see this come back up in the news again, and reading about it, and particularly the changes around it, especially around the promotion relegation side of things, which was such a hot button issue last time. I agree with Sean, and that's probably one thing I really dislike about it, is that on the initial sort of setup, it wouldn't be on merit. It would just be on who the biggest clubs are. And, you know, that's something I'm not about. And Jared, I think you summed up perfectly how I feel about the Champions League. And I'm like you in a sense that I'm a traditionalist, and I love that star above our crest and what it means to us. And I wouldn't want to partake in anything that would mean we couldn't compete in that competition and achieve a similar result going forward. So I'm not really for it.
Just if I just jump in there quick, I think if the Super League funneled money into the domestic leagues, I think that would be very much a way of keeping domestic leagues alive. And I think that's very much what probably the plan is. There was a really interesting sports pundit who did a video on like the scale of like football, if you like, in the global term. And he compared American football to like soccer, if you like, football, right?
Yep.
And he used stats from the recent Super Bowl. And obviously, Americans, they think that is the biggest sport in the world, which is just, shows their ignorance, right? But they were comparing stuff like it was, I can't remember the exact numbers, 700 million. No, I can't remember that much. Like 200 million watched the Super Bowl, right? And it was like 1.5 billion people watched the World Cup final. But then if you look at the finances, all World Cup, world football, soccer, only generates about $1.5 billion American dollars, whereas the Super Bowl this year was like $17 billion. So I think if we can get like a giant, massive revenue-making league, and that can sort of funnel down into, I'm not going to say it's going to be the same because all the advertising stuff and all that, that's the adverts every 5 minutes in the Super League, isn't it? Right, in the Super Bowl. So if you can, do something similar and actually that money funnels into domestic leagues, you might actually see, the Aberdeens and the Motherwells and the Hearts and Hibs, also maybe pushing and pushing up, and they might even get into that Super League one day. Like, I think that's a desirable outcome for everyone, right?
Yep. So we'll bring up a few comments here. So Michael Ross, is a European league not just evolution?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Galea, I agree on that. And Andrew Galea's too few have too much already. We got another comment from Michael Ross. People didn't like the idea of playing in Europe in the 50s. Also, teams avoided the World Cup. So it shows that football evolves over time with these comments. And then Andrew Galea's comment that I had a good chuckle at. SPFL needs more TV money. How about someone in Australia buying the rights and showing all the games? That'll be nice. Mate, we can't even get all the games covered for the A-League over here, and there's 12 teams.
Yep.
So we can't even get our own league on TV over here. How are we going to get Scottish football on TV over here? I love the idea. Not going to happen.
Considering how badly the people who run our league manage it, it would not surprise me if we get a TV deal that gets more SPFL games available to us than our own league.
Those people running the league over here, Shane, are about as useful as tits on a bull. That's all I have to say.
Hey, there's a very Australian phrase.
Sorry,
I heard Satanta are interested.
Yeah. That's literally here I was looking up there. I was like, I wonder how Satanta are doing.
ITV Digital.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, this one I added to the run sheet as we started the pod, just for you. Fabrizio Romano tweeted that Carl Starfelt is rumoured to be going to the EPL in the summer. This club's linked with him. You said on the pod, on the weekend review on Monday, that you would love to see him finish the season with Carter Vickers because of the partnership, but next year it's Kobayashi coming in alongside Carter Vickers as our centre-back pairing.
Mm-hmm. Stand by that.
I know, I agree with you on that, and we all know how much you've been talking about Starfelt. You don't like some of his performances. Your thoughts. The floor's yours.
Yeah, this Romano rumour surprised me because if any centre-back is going to be linked with the EPL, it should logically be Carter Vickers. So to me, this seems like it might be, what's it called when you seed something? Like you put something out there in public. Yeah, an agent job, or even from Celtic. And it smells also of a Giakoumakis and Juranovic. So if you remember what happened to Juranovic last summer, Romano, rumours out about Juranovic, and then 6 months later he's gone. It feels like that. It just feels like agent work, and I'm fine with that because it does have a lot. It has a lot of the look of a Giakoumakis / Juranovic transfer, with Starfelt going for, I don't know, 5-6 million. Nothing wild. Like, the guy's 28. He's not going to have any sell. He will be 28. He won't have any sell on. And I think we can have a better balance with Kobayashi coming in as a ready, having had lots of training and getting the system behind him.
So I say Kobayashi starting left centre back, and his backup next year is Dane Murray.
What about Labo?
Labo, yeah. Or him. Both of those two battling it out for the backup position. There you go. I'm happy with that. And then what do we do with Welsh? Do we keep him, or as Carter Vickers backup over on the right?
How old is he now?
Left
24.
So he's probably got another 4 or 5 years before he gets to a peak performance. So I don't know. Maybe stick it out.
You don't want a list clogger. I'd worst case scenario if he hangs around and he's not going to be a starter next year, Welsh, he needs to go on the season loan and get consistent games. Otherwise, we won't know what we've got.
Yeah, we always need backups, though, right? We always need the reserve player, so to speak, for our first team. So
I've got Champions League quotas, John, as well. We've got to keep
Scottish players, exactly. Yeah. So look, I don't know. I think if Starfelt moves on and Kobayashi moves in, who's our backups?
Bring back Jack Hendry.
Yeah. Well, quite possibly.
He's not getting a game. He's just got kicked out of his Italian loan.
Yeah, right.
Porto style. Send him off for the dollars. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So on the weekend, Celtic versus Aberdeen on Saturday over in Scotland, Sunday morning our time. Shane, what's your expected lineup and your score prediction?
I'm going Hart in goal, Taylor on the left, Starfelt, Carter Vickers, and Johnston. In midfield, I've got Kelmack, I've got Hatate coming back in for Turnbull, and I've got Moy keeping his spot as well. In terms of the wingers, I've got my leading line. It'd be quite silly to go through that whole discussion and leave him out. So I've got my leading line. I can see Haksabanovic getting a start. So I'm putting Haksabanovic on the left and Abada rewarded form stays on the right. And score prediction 4-0 to Celtic, just in case that wasn't clear.
Funny thing, Shane, where you've left Jota out, that's actually what I was going to do as well because I want to protect him for the following week. So
we're working in tandem a fair bit tonight. What's going on? We're even in the same
shirts.
outfit. Yeah.
It is. It's the two Australian accents in the same shirts. There you go. We're on the same wavelength, mate. With the flags as well. Happy days.
Oh God, yeah, you're right. Jesus, if all you need is a coat stand behind you, and it would be literally like looking in a mirror.
No. That's why I moved you to that bottom corner there, Shane, so I could hide your coat stand behind the logo. Yeah, so for me, I'm looking at it going lineup will be same defense and goalkeepers you said, midfield. I'd almost be tempted to put Moy off the bench and play O'Reilly from the start. After he's scored a goal, let's hit while the iron's hot and just keep him out there. And up front, yeah, I'd be going Haksabanovic, Jota, and not Jota, Haksabanovic, Maeda. And then on the right, as a little surprise, not a Abada, Jamesy Forrest for a bit of veteran leadership.
Not done bad against Duns.
Yeah. I'm not going to speculate on the front three because there's too much fluidity that depends on Kyogo's availability. So I'm just going to leave that one, to be totally honest. And if I know of Kyogo's availability, then I could probably pick it. And the back six, if you include Joe Hart and Callum McGregor, is going to be what it is. Not so. Then that just leaves now. Adam Moy low key limped off at the weekend, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Hatate come back in for Turnbull and O'Reilly come in for Moy because he did limp off and he didn't have the best game. I don't think he'd be dropped on performance, but he did limp off.
And score prediction, Sean, because I forgot to give mine, so I'm going.
Yeah.
Go on. What's your Sean?
Sorry, 3-0, I think.
I'll go 4-1, just to be different to Shane, so we're not matching again. Johnny?
Well, I was going to say 4-1 as well, so I'll probably stick to that. And I think 4-1 because I think we've been not leaking goals, but I think teams have been coming at us a fair bit, and we've sometimes got mistakes in us. And I think Andrew said that oftentimes we'll have one-on-ones when we're defending and stuff. So I can see that being 4-1, and the Dons are on a bad side. I don't think Kyogo's going to start. I think he might come on if he's if he's fit and stuff, but I don't see him starting. So I think Maeda through the middle. Interesting you said that about Moy, because I would have probably said Moy is a shoe-in, and then I'd probably have said Hatate after his performance. But yeah, I would certainly have stuck O'Reilly in there somewhere if Moy is going to come off. He's probably the first one to replace Moy. And then same back six. Don't see any change there whatsoever. I think we're always going to. That's our defense. So it's always going to be the same. So yeah,
Okay,
4-1.
we've got some score predictions in the comments here. So Michael Ross is saying 5-0. Andrew Galea is saying we can score 6 this week. And Mahesh is saying Aberdeen's away XG form appalling. Based on XG differential, Celtic by 3 or 4. I'll take your word for it, Mahesh. I don't understand that stat stuff too bad. Seems about right to me. So what we'll do is that's the end of the pod there. We'll just go to our final thoughts and then say goodnight. So Sean, what's your final thought?
Not sure I have one, to be honest.
Okay, if you want the final thought thinking time,
Yeah.
I'll jump in first then. I'll just
Go for
say,
it.
give a shout out to Willie and basically everyone over in New Zealand in the Hawke's Bay region who's been absolutely smashed by a cyclone they've had over the last few days. Stay safe, everyone over there.
Absolutely. And then our brothers and sisters in Syria and Turkey as well with the big earthquakes they've been having.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, everyone's stay safe. My final thought will be my music suggestion, as always. I recently found a duo who only get about 1,000 listeners a month on Spotify. So very, very new. And they're called the Same Olds. And they are very, very good. And a lot of people have been considering them to Wu-Tang Clan. I think that's a big compliment. But others are saying leaders and new school, that sort of stuff. So yeah, if you like your old school 90s, 2000s hip hop, give them a listen. The Same Olds. And actually, I tell you the song that was very, very good. And it was called Knockout Freestyle. So that was the one that kind of got me hooked. Give them a listen.
Johnny's a gangster, everyone.
In the very, very white way. Yes.
Are we allowed to say the words?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
No. There's a lot of pausing when I sing the song.
Sean, have you got
Yeah, I just seen a balloon outside, so I just want to say hi to our new Chinese listeners. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
and Shane?
I'm going with a show recommendation this week. It's actually on free-to-air TV here in Australia. If people still watch TV, I don't know, but I'm just going to give it anyway. I think a few people will be familiar with the show format called Taskmaster. It's been quite popular in England for a number of years. Australia's finally cottoned on and got their own version of Taskmaster. The Taskmaster is the always funny Tom Gleeson, who plays the role perfectly. And the first season cast is a stellar group, which includes the likes of Luke McGregor, Nina Oyama, and Jimmy Giggle as well from Kids TV. And it's an excellent TV show. It's funny, it's witty, it's everything you want when you sort of sit down and have your dinner. So if you are in Australia, get around it. I think it's 7:30 Thursday night. And if you're overseas, try and stream it because this crew is very funny and well worth watching.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Tom Gleeson is a prick. Hail, hail.
Hail.
We're allowed ones.
Hail.